Welcome back to Pete's Workshop. I've gone and done something a little bit risky. I've bought a car to fix, a car that was advertised on Gumtree. It was sitting there for quite a few weeks. I went and checked it out, and I think it's worth the risk. So stay tuned and check out a new little project. So here it is. It's a Citroen C2 VTR. You'll notice there's no transmission in there. The gearbox was on the floor. It's a Citroen C2 VTR. This is one of the Sensormatic transmissions. So it's actually a manual transmission that is fully electronically controlled. But when I checked out the inside of this vehicle, you can see it's like brand new pretty much. It's in really good condition. These are the original seats, and on this passenger seat here there's just a seat cover, so it has the red bolstered seats in there as well. Interestingly, the back seats, it's actually only a two-seater, but quite decent large seats in the back there, and they fold right forward as well for if you want to get extra luggage into the boot. So this vehicle is a 2007 manufactured, but first registered in 2008 in Australia. Again, the body is actually in really good condition. The only problem that I've found with the body is a small ding on the other side. I'll show you that now. A quick whip around past the front. It's very dirty, very dusty. This is a little ding in that door there, and that's it. Otherwise it's in pretty good condition. As I said, it has an issue with the transmission. I believe that issue is actually just the clutch throwout bearing. So this is the transmission out of the Citroen C2. I was told the clutch throwout bearing basically seized up and disintegrated. Seems like something odd to happen, but I have seen other evidence of that happening for other people's vehicles. You can also see this has been very hot in here, and there's actually part of the bearing that's still stuck on there, but it looks like it's been very hot as well. So I'm hoping that the only problem with this transmission is exactly that. So these transmissions, the gears selector is all electronically controlled from this module here, and the clutch is operated by this module here. And this is basically an electronically controlled clutch. They do have issues, but there's lots of information on the internet. Fortunately, there's a lot of these cars in Europe, and that means there's lots of information for me. So I've gone over this car. As you can see, I've got it home, I've jacked it up, I've had a good look around. It has no battery in it, but there's some evidence that it's probably got about 70,000 kilometers on it. It's got good tires. The brakes aren't locked on. It looks like the front rotors might be a little bit worn. I haven't checked yet if they're within spec or if I'm going to need to replace them. But yeah, it's a fun game now of working out, do I have everything? And it looks like I have. So I'm hopeful that I can just do a simple fix by putting a new clutch throwout bearing in it. I'll inspect the clutch a bit better and see if I should do a new clutch at the same time. But so far so good. It's looking like it's going to be a simple fix. So this is the clutch out of the C2 Citroen. You can see it absolutely is just a very standard manual clutch. The pressure plate and the friction plate, just like you would find in a manual transmission car, even though this is electronically controlled. You can see evidence here that the throwout bearing has become seized and has started wearing these fingers out. I don't really know if that's even too bad. I've seen standard wear clutches look very similar to that. So I'll have my mechanic mate look at that and see what he thinks. And again, the pressure plate here There seems to be some life left in this as well, but I will get that assessed by my mechanic friend and see what we think about replacing that or just using it. So I've managed to give the transmission a pretty good clean up, and now I'm just going to start inspecting where the thrust bearing runs. So I've just taken the clutch fork off. You can see that pivot point there, and it rubs inside this ball here. Now, interestingly, this looks like a anti-squeak or some kind of bushing, I guess you'd call it, but you can see that's totally worn out. So that could be some sort of evidence of just wear and tear, I would say. Hopefully we can get replacement ones of those. Otherwise, this little retainer, that just holds the clutch fork on through those couple of pins here. So I'm guessing this is the remains of the throwout bearing, or some part of that anyway. See, it looks very heat affected. So it is a little plastic part, and it does look like that's part of the throwout bearing. So that will be replaced with the throwout bearing, which is good. That'll give me a chance to inspect this. So this actually looks okay. As long as I clean all that up, it's probably going to be fine. I was just about to say the pivot point here had a pretty yucky spot on it, but it's actually just a piece of this this lubrication washer here, and that's actually just a star drive, so that can actually be replaced. So when you actually look at the wear surface, that's actually fine, so no problems with that. That's great. So the research that I have been able to conduct on the internet talks about the clutch actuator. So this is the actuator that pushes onto the end of the clutch fork and disengages the pressure plate. So this is pretty easy to remove. There's these 3 Torx. I think they're T30, have to check on that. But there's 2 here and there's 1 at the back. So there ends up being 1 underneath here and 2 here. This one at the back is accessed down through here. But yeah, you can just loosen those, and then it's quite easy to slide that assembly forward, and then you can drop that assembly out. It's that easy. Much easier to take that connector off first. On closer inspection, I can see that one of the tags on my connector is broken, and this one here is a little bit damaged from trying to remove the clutch assembly, actuator assembly, with that connector still connected. So make sure you remove that connector first so that you don't damage it. But it does just wiggle off. So release both sides and then just wiggle that off, and that connector will come off. It's got a nice rubber seal around it, so it works quite well. So some of the forums and some of the YouTube clips, you'll see either this clutch actuator or very similar, whether it's a Peugeot one. There's also a fair bit of talk about a smart car clutch actuator, and this little boot covers here. This ball pushes into the end. There's a nylon or some sort of plastic clip down the bottom there as well. It's a ball and socket joint that fits in there. So you'll see on the internet there's a few things about removing that boot and just squirting WD-40 into here. So obviously this is a fulcrum point, so there's some sort of lever in here actuated by this motor and a gear assembly. I'm gonna pull this apart and have a look at pull that casing off from the bottom and see if I can lubricate this in some strategic places so that it will work more effectively for a longer period of time. So I'll give some updates. I'll try and get some videos out a bit quicker and give you some updates about how it's progressing. But for now, I'm just assessing everything, working out what I need, and then working out the best way forward.